I was talking about you the other day. I'm trying to think of the context, but I was explaining to this person how two young youth worker teachers were on a union march.
Good afternoon, everybody. Has everyone signed in as being attending? Welcome this afternoon to this Volleyball England, the 2015 Volleyball England annual general meeting at Sport Park in Loughborough. We are here because we're all passionate about volleyball. However, let's make sure those passions are stated today in a calm way. Okay, let's be positive where we can, and let's make sure we are moving the sport forwards. Before we go any further, I'd just like to send best wishes to one of our board members, Brian Treadwell, who's undergoing treatment at the moment, and I'm informed he might be watching this afternoon, so best wishes to Brian. I'd like to welcome Caroline Jeps from the Electoral Reform Society, who will be overseeing the votes, and I would like to propose that two members of staff, Sandra Andrews and Ilona Berry, are selected as tellers to support Caroline. Is that accepted? Are there any objections to that? Okay. Apologies for absence. The following board members have given their apologies: Keith Nichols, Delvin Lane and Steve Matthews, and Brian Treadwell. We've also received apologies from Gillian Harrison, Steve Evans, Brian Stalker, Brian Youlden and Richard Harrison. Are there any other apologies we wish to record? Annie O'Connor, Westwood. Right, okay. Could you spell that? A-N-E-E-L. K-H-A-N-A. Thank you very much. West Midlands. Right, the voting system, we have changed it this year to try and ensure impartiality. By the stated closing time for the receipt of proxy and appointed representative forms, 12 noon on 23rd of July, a total of 53 forms had been received. 41 proxy votes have been given to the chair. 6 votes have been given to alternative proxy holders, or 7 votes had, but 6 are here, to alternative proxy holders, and 5 votes to appointed representatives of clubs. Due to only 6 individuals holding the 52 votes there are now present, all votes today will be conducted by way of a poll vote rather than a show of hands, so that all 52 votes are counted. Otherwise, we are not quorate from that point of view. All proxy holders and appointed representatives have been given voting cards for each discretionary vote that they hold for each resolution. And even where you haven't got discretion, you'll need to sign that voting form. So when asked to vote, each voting card will need to be signed and it will be collected by the tellers, counted just outside, immediately outside, so you can see them, but they are separate, and added to non-discretionary votes given to each proxy and appointed representative. I will receive the overall result and will declare the result of each vote. Even where it is an abstention, you will still need to sign the form and hand it over. All votes today are ordinary resolutions and only require a simple majority to be passed. Okay, moving on. The minutes of the annual general meeting held on the 26th of July 2014. Has everybody got copies? There were copies outside available and they were sent to you by email. I'm going to go through for accuracy. Okay, so please state if you have any concerns. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, and page 7. No matters raised for accuracy. Therefore, can we approve the minutes of last year's annual general meeting? Okay, and this is the first vote you need to cast. Okay? So you need to sign your forms and hand them to the tellers. Who's that? I had the first vote. 43 votes in favour, 8 abstentions, 1 vote not there. Okay, that's the first matter. Thank you. Item 1506, to see the annual report. You have each been sent the annual report just over a week ago. by email. There are some hard copies outside if you needed them. I will just go through the annual report, and if there are questions, then we'll take them a stage at a time. Okay. Page 5 are the reports by myself and Lisa Wainwright, our Chief Executive. Are there any questions for those? Okay. Page 6 is the start of our participation reports on that side. Our main adult participation initiative, Go Spike, has been taken on by more and more clubs. Does your club run an open adult session? Can it be Go Spike? Let's add to those numbers. Okay. And Go Spike is being included on the beach and in sports centres and even music festivals. There's, for youngsters and students, there are 41 Let's Play Volleyball satellite clubs now, while 148 further education colleges and 90 higher education institutes now play volleyball. That is excellent progress. That's our future, getting the youngsters playing, getting the youth and the young adults playing.
Can I just say, you're not necessarily counting on the satellite coach?
In what way? Where are we not?
I run clubs I run clubs that are satellite clubs supported by Liverpool Football Club, Liverpool Foundation.
Right.
They don't feature.
Could they be reported into the National Office? Can we report them in?
Yeah, can I put that on?
Yeah.
This is a report on the official Sport England designated satellite clubs for a specific funding stream. So yeah, through Premier League, the sort of another streams there are other things, but this report is listed as that funding stream is sort of.
Right.
So you're under reporting.
Right.
No, reporting accurately against the paid stream.
Okay.
But we could take those extra. Yes.
That is actually covered on page 11 for the Premier League for Sport clubs. Very much along Will's line, that we have to report them in separate lines because they are funded by two different bodies. So we can't just all lump them together and have one big total. We need, for reporting purposes, to keep them separate. So page 11 is where Alan, your clubs would be reported in.
Does that answer?
Well, the question is,
Yeah.
do you want to actually report the entirety of what's going on, or are you only concentrating on what's funded by Volleyball England?
I think we are required to separate out those figures, and we will ensure that overall we include both. Yes, we can perhaps combine them as a footnote.
Can I just add, I'd be delighted. There's a huge amount of activity that happens across the whole of England that a number of you are involved in. We would absolutely love to include it in the report and reflect that, Alan, as well as the targets in relation to Sport England. But let's really celebrate all the huge work that you are doing. Absolutely.
Sorry, for any further intervention, could you just say your name and who you're representing, so not everybody knows everybody?
Charlie Orton, Regional Commission. The count of Go Spike sessions, if a club's running a session every week, does that count as one session or 25? Whereas, if it's a one-off event, it's one session, it's only one session. A weekly session is much more than just an event session.
Yeah,
Rowan?
clarify that, Charlie, for sporting and reporting purposes. Sessions have to be minimum 6 weeks, so a one-off event would not be classified as a Go Spike session. It needs to be running continuously over multiple weeks to be acknowledged as a session. So what the clubs are doing, that are running, week in, week out over 30, sometimes 50 weeks a year, absolutely, they would be given more weight than a one-off event or a one-off tournament that may or may not be Go Spike branded.
Private Handball Competitions Commission. I get confused over satellite clubs, hub clubs and academies. Through no fault of anyone, I think they've all these three ideas have grown in different ways in different places. And maybe at some stage an article on the website explaining what they are and who's doing what and so forth could be helpful.
I had a thumbs up saying that's a good idea, and we will do that. Thank you. On to page 8 and the investment zone reports. These are showing some of the successes in those zones. There are many more. Read their stories. There's some good ideas that we can take away to our clubs and to use. As the same when we come later to the regional reports. Just look at them and get fresh ideas for your own areas. Are there any questions on the investment zones? So, on to student volleyball on page 13. Any questions there? On to Go Spike. Right, we'll move on to talent, our talent programme. Actually, sorry, just before we do, just to mention on page 18 about This Girl Can ads. Did you see that volleyball featured in the recent series of ads? It's partly because we've supported it so well. I'd just like to highlight that. We are fully behind, and we're one of the primary sports for females in this country. Page 19 onwards is the talent. Despite our lack of UK sport funding, we made significant progress on the talent front in this last year. Great credit goes to Chris Gregory and Jake Sheaf, who, despite being mainly self-financed, qualified for the Baku European Games. They did receive a lot of logistical support and administrative support from Volleyball England. Both our men's and women's beach squads have qualified through to round 4 of the Continental Cup. So they're getting closer to Olympic qualification. They got a hard struggle to make it in the end, but they're still in there fighting. Our sitting teams have managed to maintain a limited programme, partly through support from UNAM. The women's team finished 11th in the World Championships, while the men's team won several matches at the Latvia Cup. Of course, most of us saw the Invictus Games where we won the sitting volleyball. Of great importance, I think, is the major grant that that the talent team, headed by Audrey Cooper over here, in the office, managed to gain. It's 3 strands that enable us to undertake a talent identification properly, to develop the coaches on our national talent programmes, and to restart a young seniors programme. We're getting there. After our funding was stopped after the Olympics, we're getting back to have full national teams. Allied with the commencement of senior academy programmes at 5 universities, it means that the current and recent sets of England juniors and cadets now have a further 4 years to continue developing their skills at the highest levels. This is for both indoor and beach. So we're able to start, to compete in new age range competitions worldwide. Are there any questions on the talent programme? So on to page 22, and coaching. Coaching has launched the activator role, which promotes informal play. A lot of research is coming out to say that people don't want to necessarily be coached. Only a small proportion of the population want to actually be coached. They want to just turn up and play. So it's partly an organising role, and we need to cater for that, and that's what the activator role is helping do. And the reduced length of the referee's course to 1 day has seen a surge in candidates, but we still need more. Any questions on coaching and refereeing? Right. Competitions and commercial. It's an area we're recognised for internationally. It's our ability to stage competitions. I've heard this firsthand at the Nevsa Beach Championships from other countries saying what brilliant organisers we are, better than other countries. And we should applaud that. We are very good at that. And that's one reason why the FIVB want us to stage a Beach World Tour Grand Slam in the next 2 years. And possibly the 2019 World Beach Championships. So that's something for us to aim for. Similarly, our Volleyball Development Centre at Kettering is one of the only few international centres completely fulfilling all the requirements given to it by the FIVB and the CEV. We're making sure things happen. Any questions on competitions? And on to the regional reports. As I said earlier. Yes, have you got a question?
The Volley 1, 2 and
Yep.
The Volley 1, 2 and 3 figures, are they just for this year? Not total that we've got? I'm assuming it's this year, but sorry.
So
The current.
ones that are currently accredited.
The people aren't actually
Currently accredited, because you have to renew after a period.
Yes, it would be nice to be able to do that.
In what way? Okay, so you have concern on that, and so if you have a word afterwards, we'll address that. Any other questions there? Okay, regional reports. Sorry, I think equity and safeguarding, so I jumped that bit. And there, we may take it for granted, but we are one of the most equitable, inclusive sports in England. We welcome every race, every colour, every other diversity into our sport. We're virtually 50-50 male and female. And we're trying to increase opportunities for those with a disability. We often don't realise, that we're so much better than a lot of other sports. Any questions on that? Just to say that the office has just gone through flying colours. Its intermediate, or the sport has, led by the office, its intermediate equity and safeguarding award with Sport England, and will soon be taking the advanced. What's it? The level 3, the advanced.
Advanced, yes. So one of the conditions of grant for all bodies that are funded by both UK Sport and Sport England, rightly so, need to work along an equity framework. And there's a preliminary standard, an intermediate standard and an advanced standard, and we've been very fortunate through a huge amount of work through Alona and all of you in attaining that award this last week, and we're pressing forwards for the advanced, and that covers all the breadth of diversity that we can think about. So it's a real genuine, as Jeff says, genuine celebration of our staff, of our volunteers and of our fantastic sport. that people from across England, from different nations and different colours and creeds are enjoying. So we're delighted to gain that award and look forward to getting the advanced standard very soon.
Right, and then on to page 28, the regional reports. As I said, it's very easy for us to just look at our own region, but read the others and get ideas, things you can implement. Are there any questions on the regional reports? Okay, page 31 is the annual award recipients, recognising people who have done a lot of good things there, as well as people who have given a lot of service to the sport. Also mentioned are some of our sponsors, as they are also mentioned on page 39, which I'd highlight. Two major ones being Itsu on the beach, who are increasing the brand awareness of volleyball immeasurably. And as they grow, hopefully we will grow as well along with it. And obviously Unum have supported the sitting volleyball programmes and making a big difference. Any questions on that area? The finance report, John will be going through shortly. Okay. So I'm going to say before, so we will cover the finance report separately, but the rest of the annual report is our second vote to accept the finance report or not. Thank you. I think Brian did that deliberately, actually.
Yes.
Whilst we wait, just to remind you, we have coming up in September 12th, 11th, 12th?
12th, 13th.
12th, 13th, the London Legacy Cup, where we have 8 top teams from around Europe, including 2 former European champions at the Copper Box. Please encourage your club members, friends, relatives to go along. It's our first chance to see top-class, international standard volleyball in this country since the Olympics. Let's make a success of it.
Yeah, well, you're talking about that. Have we got any figures for the sales so far? I haven't heard any.
I think it's important to say that tickets are still available. The sooner you purchase tickets, to all those watching online, the better. But tickets have naturally been slow. It's a new event, the first event ever in Olympic Park for volleyball, and it's a different opportunity. And it's an event that we need to pay for, as you know. So ticket sales have been, to be absolutely fair, slower than anticipated. But there's a huge amount of marketing about to happen. We are marketing in the next couple of weeks through the database from the Olympics, so 4 million people will be targeted, as well as another newsletter through Ticketmaster, who's dealing with the tickets, etc. So tickets are slower than expected, but with all your support, who are passionate about volleyball, I'm sure we'll see those ticket numbers increase. If you could all bring all your family, your relatives and your distant relatives to the event, we'd be delighted.
I think it's important for the future of volleyball that we are seen to make major events successful and that they're well supported. Because then we can attract sponsors in, we can attract the media in, and the media won't want to turn up to half-empty stadia. So we as a sport need to make it a success. And it helps then us as clubs attract new members, because we are then we're getting a higher profile. The result on the annual report is 43 in favour and 8 abstentions. So that's passed as well. At this stage, I'll pass over to John Boughton, who will talk through the financial report and then the reappointment of auditors.
I think there'll be a vote for the acceptance of the finance report between those two things. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'll try and keep this brief, but I will leave space at the end of the meeting or end of my section for questions, which I will endeavour to answer. However, I haven't necessarily got all of the detail here to hand, and there are several issues which are confidential, and therefore I'm afraid I'm not at liberty to discuss. I'm always taken by how the finance section is the last in the annual report. Not that I'm trying to big myself up, but without resource, money, people and time, it's now impossible to achieve anything. So arguably we should celebrate this enabler up front, not hidden away at the back, or the sides, or the middle. And we shouldn't just be talking about money. It should be about people, because it's the people who make this organisation what it is, what it has been, and what it will be. Money is an enabler, and to a degree, in this organisation at least, a measure. So how do we measure up? Quite well, in my opinion. We consistently deliver our budget, which is set to maintain our asset base. Where we can, we invest additional money in activities that will create value to our business, which is the promotion of sport of volleyball in England. However, whilst money is an enabler, it can also disable. This arises when income is tied to delivery of certain outcomes. In common with lots of small and mid-ranged NGBs, the majority of our income is derived from Sport England, just over 60% last year. It comes to us because we have demonstrated our ability to support them in the initiatives they have been directed to achieve by government. Having received that cash, we have to be seen to be spending it to deliver those outcomes. It's not like asking your parents for money to go to the cinema and then spending it on fags. Sport England find out, and they can stop giving you money as such. That doesn't mean we don't do what we feel we need to develop the sport. Sorry for that interruption. Our 2024 strategy keeps our eyes on that particular prize. But tactically, within each 4-year cycle, we have to be resourceful in matching Sport England objectives with that strategy, so that we can achieve, so we can secure the cash to enable the achievement of our objectives. And Lisa and the team have been highly successful in that, which we need to constantly recognise, applaud and celebrate. Yes, we need to lessen that dependence on Sport England funding and become more independent. Again, that's part of 2024. And there's glimmers of light that even I, with my doom-laden and dark glasses, can see poking through at the edges. So if I wrote an end-of-term report for Volleyball England, what would it say? Loads of potential, bags of enthusiasm, still needs to put a lot of hard work in, but has a decent base to build from. Any questions?
two comments on that. The accounts are not the full accounts. The ones in the annual report are not the full accounts.
They are the full published accounts of the company.
And the other accounts are not open to scrutiny by membership.
Volleyball England is a company limited by guarantee, and therefore there is a certain level of detail which we need to disclose, and we're not obliged to disclose any more. I think there will need to be a debate at board level going forward as to whether the amount of information that we present is increased, but legally we're not obliged to supply any more. That's not because of any secrecy, but there is an issue about if we put information into the public domain, then that is available to people who might use it not in a way that's beneficial to the Volleyball England business.
Right. That definitely follows Sport England line, no doubt. The other comment is that I'm very sorry that John has got to retire soon. I think I've troubled him more than others for information at AGMs, which has always been forthcoming, not just from John, but from also Dirk and Sandra. And I hope that he's only going to take a holiday and come back again. I'd like to make a suggestion, though, that in the articles, the fixed term for directors might be looked at, and the Office of Finance Director might have different conditions to the others, because they're not that easy to find. And when you do find a good one, I think you need to keep him.
If I may say, Chairman, I think that's praise indeed.
Thank you very much.
Are there any other questions on the finance report? Okay, we'll go to a vote. Next slip that you've got, accepting the finance report or not. And just to say that John is up for re-election. Sport England guidelines say directors should not exceed 8 years. That is the problem. However, if a person, as far as I understand it, if there is not an obvious candidate stepping forward to fulfil that role, we can exceed that term. Obviously, it cannot go on indefinitely. Same as John can't really.
I think just to add to that, it's not just a Sport England requirement. It's good governance. It really is good governance that people give a huge amount of time voluntarily to these roles, and there's often burnout. There's often not. So it's a good principle to have in terms of bringing new people on, develop new people and contribute more. There's also a common sense element in good governance terms. If you've got the right person with the right skills, with the right energy, there is always lenience in those regulations. So just to assure you, if we felt as a company that was right, and John was desperate to stay on, as I'm sure he absolutely is, the board and you as members could consider that. So it's a general principle. It's not absolutely written in black and white.
Thank you very much. And the vote is 41 in favour, 1 against, 8 abstentions. So the finance report is accepted. The next one is acceptance of auditors, and I'll hand over to John again on that one.
Yes, I'm afraid it's me again. It falls to the AGM to approve the appointment of external auditors for the following year. It is appropriate that we review the auditors during this coming year. So although I will propose that BDO are reappointed as the auditors, I may well come to you next year and seek your approval of the appointment of different auditors. But for the purposes of this meeting, or for this coming year, I propose reappointing BDO, who have done the audit for the last, in various guises, for the last 8 or 9 years, as the auditors of the English Volleyball Association for 2015-16. So could I move to a vote, please?
Your next form. And the tellers are getting quicker. One concluding remark I didn't make, I should have done at the end of the annual report, is all this activity that has been going on in the annual report shows why we've exceeded 9 out of our 10 KPIs for Sport England. And it's why they were prepared to consider additional funding for us. And I congratulate Lisa and her staff for their presentations and obviously the massive input towards those KPIs. Plus, obviously, it's all our volunteers doing the doing as well. Thank you. Sneaked it on me. Those in favour of the auditors, 43 and 8 abstentions. So that's passed as well. Now, because I'm involved in the elections, I'm going to hand over to Will Roberts, who's going to chair the elections section.
Thanks, Jeff. Good afternoon, everybody. There are a number of positions of office which are up for election today. Because of, as we explained at the start, to be quorate, we have to do all the votes by poll. The uncontested post, we will do one by one. The first post of which is now the much celebrated Finance Director role, which is John Boughton. So if we can prepare our votes and be ready to hand them in to the tellers, please. Yep, so I guess mainly for the audience on the stream, because I can see a lot of the performance staff and performance-oriented oriented people in our audience today. Today's the first day of the High Peaks training camp, something I remember fondly, both as a young player and as a coach at times as well. It's a long time since we've been training out of Kettering in the past few years. It's the first training camp for the new coaching regime, particularly in charge of the cadet boys. Really excited to bring those guys on board, and it's fantastic to have that on the back of the first camp of the Young Seniors programme, which was last weekend down at Essex University. There's been, and reported to board today by Audrey, an absolutely fantastic response from the players involved. An expert staff introduced to the programme, expertise that England senior programmes have never experienced before in terms of physiotherapy, strength and conditioning, and the players, by report, have responded incredibly well to that. The playing pool involved are a real range of players, I think, in terms of where they're currently based, many playing Super 8s volleyball, many playing overseas, particularly in universities, in America. It's a great opportunity for us to actually see our talent that's been exported come back and challenge itself against the other domestic talent. So very exciting time for the performance angle. I'd encourage everyone to really look into that that element of the annual report, because it's been a phenomenal change. And hopefully, without wanting to sound like too much of a sales pitch, that will bring more people on board to go and see the London Legacy Cup. So particularly through the Team Northumbria teams, there'll be a lot of those young English players in particular on show. I think I've padded long enough to add up votes for a single fixture.
Keep talking.
That's all right, Jeff. I'll leave it for a little moment now. Got 3 more things to think about. Okay.
What can we see?
I'll say I've got 3 more positions. I've got to stand at least. I need some material. I'm here all week.
Does everyone know what that the FIVB are the worldwide volleyball federation, the International Volleyball Federation? CEV is the European one. NEVSA is the North European Volleyball Zone, which is what we're in, which is us and the Nordic countries. BVF is the British Volleyball Federation. Volleyball England, it's yours.
And just for entertainment, should we all try and figure out the NEVSA countries? Let's go for it. I'll start with Sweden.
Finland.
Norway.
England.
Go on, England.
Greenland.
Denmark. No? Denmark's
Yes.
Yes.
Denmark.
Denmark's in there.
How many we got? Iceland.
No,
No.
Not Scotland.
not Scotland.
Great response. So Scotland is in the small nations group. Not with our doing, at their choice.
You're missing one.
We're missing one.
Faroes.
Iceland's correct.
Iceland.
What happened to the Spring Cup?
Lost its sponsorship.
It got lost, Brian.
Lost its money.
It was replaced by European qualification tournaments. And remember, for those that are slightly older than the majority, Brian, the Spring Cup was a competition otherwise known as the West European Volleyball Championships. And indeed, we staged one. It was actually replaced because at the time of the event, it was mostly seen as Western European countries, when Eastern Europe was by far and away the strongest in the European zone. But over the years, the necessity for running a competition for Western European countries was replaced, partly because the Iron Curtain came down, and partly because competitions were then restructured in terms of European championships with qualifying rounds. And it meant that the number of automatic places were reduced, which gave countries like France, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Germany, Sweden, the opportunity of qualifying and winning European championships. So the Spring Cup as an entity has long gone, partly now replaced by the volleyball zone or associations, of which we're now part of NEVSA, and there are other zones around Europe as well, all of whom have a qualification process.
John, it's your turn. We're moving along.
Perhaps can I just add one more?
Get Richard, as long as you need, I think.
There's another competition that we've been discussing at board this morning. Excuse my laryngitis, but we're still not giving up on the opportunity of a Commonwealth Beach Championships in 2018 at the Gold Coast. At the moment, beach volleyball is not included in the programme, but it is included in the programme for 2022 when the Commonwealth Games will be held in Durban. All the signs are that the Chief Executive of Durban 2022 is in a good position to influence things, since he's also the General Secretary of South African Volleyball. But Tubby Reddy is in a a strong position, and I met with him recently in London. In 18, we haven't given up, and Lisa and I will be meeting with the president of the FIVB and the president of the Australian Federation in Lausanne in a couple of weeks' time, when Ari Gratha, the president of the FIVB, has shown real interest in trying to help us get over the line. But there's a financial and political issue which has to be overcome. So we're now discussing it with Australia, and we're desperately trying to make it happen for our players' sake, but also for the sake of the sport. Because for those of you that have never been to the Gold Coast, if you can imagine sun and miles of golden beach, the idea that they could hold a Commonwealth Games Championships on the Gold Coast and not maximise the potential usage of the beach seems incredulous to many people in Australia and around the Commonwealth. So we've not given up, but clearly it's not within our control, so that's why we're having this meeting.
I think I might have to.
Just to clarify, I've just had a conversation with one of the tellers. Because of the nature of the way that proxy votes are indicated in advance and the nature of the form, which does leave a little space for some confusion, I think it might be that someone's put a tick in the wrong box. That's why Martin's gone out as company secretary, just to check, in line with the regulations linked to the articles, to make sure that we don't kind of rush in and just pass it, even though it's a single nomination. Clearly there's a lot of controversy about it.
Well, it's a controversial position.
So apologies for the delay. I think we're all in the same boat on that one. Well, maybe.
I think there's white smoke.
Okay, the votes are in. John Boughton's Finance Director, 43 votes for, 0 against and 9 abstentions. Welcome back, John.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, the next position is Playing Director. Again, uncontested. The incumbent is Jefferson Williams and is standing again. So tell us, you're back in action.
I'm sure the illustrious man on your left, his success will come upon you. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, sure. If yeah, we have an ongoing competition review, which was actually initiated under the leadership of Wayne Coyle in his role as our previous president, and Rob Cook, fellow member of the board, is leading the competition review at present. So if I hand over to you, Rob, just to give a bit of an update.
Okay, thanks, Rob. So we relaunched the competition review in April, which was sent out as a news item and distribution to the membership. We formed a competitions group to oversee that, and I'll chatting earlier to Brian, and we will, in addition to having an initial news item published on the website, who's part of that group. We also have formed 2 subgroups, and we'll be forming 2 new subgroups. The subgroups include focus on youth and talent, senior competitions, and the newer groups will be focusing on beach and sitting. So the next stage of that, I was chatting to Charlie just now, was to each of the commission presidents will be sending key questions which will then be distributed to commission members, asking them for their views. With all those views in, and we can understand this is a very complex process and lots of different views that we'll have in, we will then be constructing a survey and providing the membership with the opportunity to look at the recommendations that have come in from the competitions group, the subgroups, all of the commissions, and then that will be the chance for the membership to look at the survey and some of the recommendations and to see where we're going with that. So it is a very complex process. It's for the whole of the sport, so we need to make sure we get it right, but it will provide the opportunity with everybody to feed in along the way. And the timelines in terms of that is looking for some of those recommendations to be implemented for the 2016-17 season. So any new recommendations, where there are any, won't all suddenly be implemented at once. We're looking at a phased implementation of any new recommendations. It provides us with a great platform, a great opportunity to develop and grow the sport further. There might be some questions coming up, but we're going to have a little intermission again in a second, so let's leave them there for now. The results are in, so for playing director Jefferson Williams, 46 votes for, 1 against and 6 abstentions. So welcome back, Jeff. Okay, on to the next role, which is a commission presidency for the Performance Commission, again uncontested, and it's for Alex B. Alakars as the nomination. One of the key considerations in the competition review that, again, we discussed at the board today was to make sure that the composition of those groups that are being consulted with, are representative of multiple perspectives within the sport, not only across the obvious disciplines of indoor, beach and sitting, or junior and senior, but also really into grassroots and participation level. So I guess for the reassurance of everyone in the room and who are watching on the live streaming, really important that through that review it is recognised there's a whole range of different motivations and rationales of why people want to take part in the sport, but equally that the nature of sport is that competition is a key engagement tool, so we want to make sure we hear all perspectives on the competitions in England. I'm going to do a very personal plug now, both for my role within the sport and my day job as head of sport with the Youth Sport Trust. The weekend before the big event, which is of course the London Legacy Cup, and I wouldn't want to undermine Rohan, is the Sainsbury's 2015 School Games in Manchester, which volleyball is in its 9th year within that multi-sport event, one of 12 sports. And although I'm completely unbiased in my view on it, it's a fantastic event. I was involved in bringing volleyball into it when I used to work for the organisation, and I've been leading on its delivery for a number of years, but it gives us an opportunity to demonstrate our sport to a broad audience through live streaming and through ticketing. It also gives us a great opportunity to show off our young talent, particularly given the main funders we've discussed today are always in attendance as VIPs, and somehow their tours always dwell at the volleyball events. Obviously because they want to spend time with Lisa. Okay, the results are in. Alex B. Alakars, Performance Commission President, 45 for, 0 against and 7 abstentions. Can we do it in just a minute, Alan? Because we can then fill in the gaps. Is that okay? Final uncontested position is that of Coaches Commission President, a role that was held by Richard Harrison for many years. Richard has stepped down, and Gillian Harrison has been nominated uncontested as the new President of the Coaches Commission. No relation. I think notably actually on this one, linked into a point that Lisa made before in terms of the election of officers and the duration of tenure within those positions. Gillian's a former chair of the Schools and Youth Commission, probably about 10 years ago or so. So I guess there is a healthy sign here of the recycling and the benefit of taking a break. Although I look over now and John thinks I'm saying something about him. I'm not, honest. Alan, sorry, back to your question.
We were able 3 years ago to run a very successful school games on the Wirral, in which volleyball was the second most popular sport after football. But we have not been able to persuade Merseyside to include volleyball in their school games. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you can do to help?
Not through my job role. That would be a massive conflict of interest and pretty unprofessional of me to do that. But yeah, certainly, I mean, working with Maria, the school games at levels 1 to 3 is something that's always on our agenda. Maria and I catch up at least once a month to discuss various things, and school games, particularly at county level, as you've described, Alan, is one of the key strategies. I don't know, Maria, if you want to fill in the blank.
We recognise that we need to get good working relationships with the schools games officers, and Rob's a really good example. In Nottingham, we've just added volleyball into their winter school games, so it's happening more and more. And I think the numbers that we're in about 38 or 40% of school games around the country, volleyball is. But the big route to get into that market is through the schools game officers, and Rob Payne in Rowan's team and myself are working closely at how we get better relationships with those to try and to support the clubs.
I used to sit on one of the Merseyside committees. I have in the past, through the governing body side, sat on one of the Merseyside management committees and had direct contact with the people who organised the school games. But the problem that we had is that only 2 of the boroughs in Merseyside were at the time able to field teams. My understanding is that nowadays the teams don't normally represent boroughs, they are actually school teams. And we wouldn't have a problem in turning out enough school teams.
What you're describing is a local issue, so that's all deferred to each county for their own governance over that. So I'm quite happy to chat to you afterwards about the individual circumstances on that one. Okay, we're now on to the election of the role of President of Volleyball England. We have 2 candidates proposed for the role, Jeff Allen and Tracy Watkinson. First of all, each candidate is going to be invited in turn to make a 10-minute presentation. We will be sticking to time for those 10 minutes in the interest of fairness. So, first of all, I'd like to welcome Jeff. Oh, sorry. Sorry, we did. I didn't announce it. I got carried away. I did. On my favourite subject. For Gillian, it was 43 votes for, 1 against, and 8 abstentions. Thanks for the reminder. Thank you.
Hello again. I'm going to give you a short synopsis of who I am, what I can offer as President, and what I'd like to see volleyball achieve. In my professional career, I was Finance Director of a multinational group of companies for 24 years, including 4 years chairing its largest company and travelling overseas. I stepped down 2 years ago to a non-executive director's role. Working just 2 days a week has enabled me to give the commitment needed to fulfil the role of President properly. As well as having the necessary commitment for the role of President, an extensive experience of business management, I've great depth of experience in virtually all areas of English volleyball. And apologies to those who've heard this before, but some background for those who haven't. I've played volleyball for 48 years, both indoors and beach, though my jump seems pretty non-existent nowadays. I've coached for 44 years to beginners, boys, girls, Southwest, England South boys, 24 years of Women's National League, 17 years of Men's National League, plus a spell as England men's assistant coach. I've been a Volleyball England staff tutor for 34 years and I'm a qualified referee. I started Wessex when I was 22, creating its multi-school junior programme, developing close links with Bournemouth University and Leaf Academy and other local schools. I've chaired it since its inception. This enables me to fully understand and appreciate the challenges of volunteers running a volleyball club. I founded the Sandbanks Beach Volleyball Festival 23 years ago and still direct it now. I've been chair of my local association, Volleyball Dorset, for the last 19 years. I'm a former member of the South West Committee and I'm currently on the Dorset and Hampshire Investment Zone Committee. Nationally, a number of years ago, I was Volleyball England Marketing Director and then also Playing Director, then Finance Director, an honorary Vice President, and I was a member of Schools and Youth Development Commission for many years. And I've been your President for the last year. Should I be re-elected as President, these are some of the things I would like Volleyball England to do. Our 2024 strategy is a really good strategy. Well thought out, achievable, but stretching. If you haven't seen it, you can read the full strategy, not just the summary, on the Volleyball England website. We need to make sure we have a strong start towards the strategy's short-term goals, since they are vital if we to achieve our long-term goals. Our participation numbers are our key Sport England performance indicator. Whilst we need to continue to attract new players to volleyball, we must make things better for our current players so that they stay in the sport. Increase communications with our clubs, players, coaches, refs and administrators, making them feel part of the sport, a sport that's vibrant, social and fun to play. One way to retain players and grow our numbers is for more clubs to set up sitting volleyball sections for both existing indoor players and for those with physical impairment. Sitting is a wonderful version of our sport, and I encourage many more clubs and players to try it. Look at staffs and the success they've had in doing it. I want to get more former players involved in volleyball again, whether playing or coaching or refereeing or running volleyball. We need to try and increase involvement by more people like yourselves. Either people with vast volleyball knowledge and experience or new people with fresh ideas. Many volleyballers are professionals in their working lives, and we need to tap into that expertise. To improve volleyballers' engagement and contribution to developing volleyball, we need to give them a greater voice. I believe that everybody should have a say in our sport, whether you're a player, coach, referee or administrator. And to me, that means individual membership with a vote, not just individual registration. And I will continue to work towards bringing proposals to an AGM for individual members to be given a vote. Our pyramid structure, from grassroots participation to high performance volleyball, needs to be strengthened. We need a broad base of young players to feed into our clubs and universities, and from that we can develop top class international teams. Here are 3 areas we can improve. We're one of the best sports around for youngsters aged 10 to 14, with many advantages over other sports. As well as our team ideals and strong sporting ethics, there are a few sports that can adapt and keep a class of 30 children happy and active in a small school gym. However, because 10 to 14 is outside the Sport England target age group for volleyball, we're paying less attention to it, even though most of these youngsters will be within our target age range by the end of our 4-year plan. Maria Batelli and Will Roberts and the Schools and Youth Commission recognise this and are trying to address this, and I fully support them. Secondly, we need to improve access for our youngsters not at major schools or clubs to receive good coaching through regional development squads. Thirdly, we need to further develop our junior competition structure, which, as you've heard, is going on. We know there are problems with the calendar, but these are being addressed. We need more referees. I've got 2 things here. Firstly, players, coaches and fans have to stop giving referees grief. It's not surprising that some referees walk away from the sport, and we've got to change the attitudes from that point of view. Secondly, we need more players, particularly National League players, to become referees. There's a very good pathway if you want to become a top or even international referee, and we need to persuade more players rather than just walk away from the sport to move into refereeing or into another form of volleyball. You know, it could be administration or coaching. I'm pleased that 2 advisory groups have been set up to help with our marketing and commercial activities. They're members of volleyballers or friends of volleyball who are experts in these areas. Hopefully these can have an increasing effect both on our profile and on attracting more income. We're all frustrated that UK sport funding for all our indoor, beach and sitting national teams have been removed. However, to give our top players England teams to aspire to, we need to enable the national squads to start training and playing again. As you've heard, through the efforts of our technical and talent team in the office, getting additional grant monies from Sport England, we're now restarting, or have restarted, the England under 23 squads, or young senior squads. giving our juniors more time to develop at an international level. I would like to see the full England teams restored next. I'd like to help clubs who are largely run by overworked volunteers become easier to run and gain a higher status within local communities. I've been president for the last 12 months. In that time, I've spent a great deal of time, including 42 full days, learning about the role, representing Volleyball England to the FIVB, to the CEV, to NEVSA, to the BVF, to Sport England, UK Sport, etc. And more importantly, working with the office, the board, the commissions and volleyballers to develop our sport. My interaction with all these areas has confirmed to me how incredibly hard our volunteers, our board, our commission members work for volleyball. We are indeed fortunate that we have such committed individuals and must be careful not to burn them out through overload. Much of what I didn't delegate cannot be delegated, though. And that's what's expected of a president. Thanks to all those who have sent me suggestions for improvement, and apologies if we haven't been able to implement them all yet. I do understand that both praise and criticism comes from a passion for the game, and I do listen. Lots of things in our sport are excellent, but although I accept not everything is perfect, we are trying to get there. Volleyball is our sport, so please continue to help or get involved more to make this right for all of us.
Sorry, Jeff, we're at 10 minutes. Could wrap up in the next 30 seconds.
Yeah. The government is talking about cuts of up to 40% in departmental expenditure. Whilst we hope any cuts to our funding are minimal, should they come, we will need people with broad volleyball managerial experience to meet the challenges of developing and growing our sport. I believe I meet those criteria. I've been to a few outdoor tournaments this summer where I've seen hundreds of men, women and children enjoying themselves. It reinforces my view that volleyball is a fantastic sport and we must continue to do our best for today's members and for future generations. Finally, I'd like to thank all those who have helped and supported me during the last year. Thank you for listening.
I walk up to the front to cause a delay. Tracy Watkinson.
Hello everyone, my name is Tracy Watkinson and I'm currently an independent non-executive director on the board, a post I've been in for the last 2 years now. My career background is in change management, where I'm responsible for identifying what isn't working effectively and improving it. It's with that experience and focus why I'm standing in front of you today. From my time on the board, particularly the past year, it's become very apparent to me that some change is needed. I'm going to briefly talk through the 4 main areas of change that I think are required. Firstly, changing the pace of delivery of the strategic initiatives to meet the needs of you, the volleyball playing community, with transparency for all on the progress. Maximising the skills across the leadership team to ensure all the energy can be focused on getting clubs, regions, senior management team, commissions and board to deliver these strategic initiatives to progress the sport, including furthering the efforts to identify funding to ensure that the Strategy 2024 development plans we heard about earlier really continue to be successful. Secondly, changing the relationship between Volleyball England and everyone who's involved in the sport, ensuring that the services provided by the team at the head office are tailored to meet your needs, and that you realise what incredible expertise you have on hand to use. Creating a closer relationship between your club and a clear service offering from Volleyball England that meets those specific needs. Furthering the great efforts in supporting you, building on the £1 million, 1 million, keep carrying on, next year, building on the £1 million in grants that we gathered last year to increase the interaction with all clubs going forwards, and understanding what the players, the clubs, the regions really do need at all levels in the sport, and therefore creating a membership offering that meets these needs and then enables Volleyball England to be effective and viable. Thirdly, maximising the knowledge and talent in the sport. I've already mentioned the need to maximise the skills across the leadership team to help with the pace of delivery, It's also imperative to ensure the board, the commissions, the senior management team and the advisory boards that we recently set up all operate as a high-performing team and are the collective face of volleyball, whether that be to members, external stakeholders and leveraging this vast volleyball knowledge effectively. This means having clarity on roles and responsibilities across all those areas, ensuring that we're using the talent available in the volleyball community to deliver those strategic initiatives. Transparent updates for everyone on the plans and the delivery progress of all of our 2024 strategic initiatives. Regular leadership meetings and communication to ensure that strong collective group of knowledge and experience are aligned and really supporting each other to be successful. Making sure that Strategy 2024 is real and actually understood, and we're all tracking the progress together. Having leadership team meetings coordinated with competition events, so as well as being a close-knit unit within the leadership team, there's direct communication out to the players as well. Across the leadership team, there really is unparalleled experience in leading and developing our sport, and my mission would be to use that experience. For example, we have Audrey, Jefferson, Maria, and so many more from a coaching and performance standpoint. We've got Lisa and Will from a sports governance background, Rowan and Rob with years of experience in event management and commercial sponsorships, plus all of our commissioners, coaches, referees and volunteers that can bring so much to the sport. The face of volleyball, in my opinion, is this leadership team, not just the president. Lastly, a change in accountability. I will be fully accountable to you, delivering a full review of progress against plan regularly. Based on having clear roles and responsibilities and the associated behaviours that come with those, together with improved communications, I will improve the culture to one that reflects a professional and successful sport that not only can we all be proud to be part of, but that attracts thousands more to join us. To summarise, my only reason to stand in front of you today is to effect the much needed changes to make volleyball the success it should be here in England. My independence from volleyball doesn't make me the likely candidate, but it offers a different approach. I don't come with an agenda based on historic opinions. I don't come with an attitude that I know best because I've been in the sport for years. Instead, I will be focused on achieving the strategy by empowering and leveraging the experience and talent already in the sport. My role as president would be to delegate effectively and to support everyone, ensuring that collectively we're all successful. I would not try and do it on my own. This is partnered with my successful commercial background, having spent over 15 years in investment banking at the world's top leading banks, where my role has been continuously to lead an effective team to deliver change. Thank you for listening, and I sincerely hope that by putting myself forward, we get the changes needed. Thank you.
Okay, in accordance with the process that's laid out, we'll now move to the poll vote. So if I can ask the tellers to stand and give people a chance to mark their sheets. Thank you. You might be honorary president, Richard, but yeah.
It probably is important, if you don't mind, just I will fill a spot, I don't like silencers. We are probably coming to one of the most challenging times within our sector, the sports sector, and you'll have seen we have a new Secretary of State in John Whittendale and a new Sports Minister, Tracy Crouch, who I met last week, who is very aware and thinks volleyball actually is fabulous. That doesn't mean to say she's going to give us any more money. But what is really important as a sport that we speak coherently, collectively and positively about the sport, and either president I'm sure would do that. There's a consultation document that's due out at this moment in time from the Minister, and it's talking about a very different approach to sports policy, and what she's doing, Tracy Crouch, is looking to embed sport policy in different departments. So as a reminder, it sits within DCMS, Department of Culture, Media and Sport. What she's aiming to do is to pull in the Department of Health, Department for Education as well, so it gives a more strategic cross-government approach. Now, why I'm talking about this, it is critical that we feed into that consultation as Volleyball England formally, but also every one of you and every club member at home, to demonstrate the importance that national governing bodies have to the fabric of our society. Where would we be fundamentally without our clubs and our sport? And that's what this consultation will include. There's 10 elements within it. So there's 10 areas where we can feed into, and it goes literally from participation, basic level, right the way through to international events and profile. So I ask you, please, when the consultation comes out, we'll put it on the website, but please do take time. If there's one thing we do with our president going forward and the board, it's to ensure we get a good positioning in that consultation. It is critical over the next 5 years of this new government. I'll now be quiet, but just so you know.
Okay, the votes are in. There were 34 votes for Jeff, 11 for Tracy and 8 abstentions. I'll hand back to Jeff for the closing remarks. Congratulations.
Thank you for your faith in me. I hope that we all can make this a better sport, a bigger sport, a more successful sport. That's what we care about, and that's what we're all working towards. We will have disagreements. As I said at the start, it's because we're passionate about the sport. What we need to do is, when we're passionate about something, though, sometimes we think, we reread, maybe it's an email, can it be interpreted another way? Then maybe we rewrite it and then send it. But we work together and we go forward as a sport, and we'll get there. We'll get to that 2024 strategy. Have a read if you haven't read it already. Look at the detail, as I said, is on the website. See what parts you can contribute to. And if you want to get involved in the national game, let us know. We welcome people getting involved. And if you've got ideas, send them to me, send them to the office. We welcome those ideas. Have a safe journey home, and thank you for making the effort of getting here and participating in the democracy of volleyball. Thank you.
Tend to read the annual report or something.